I never imagined that the child I carried for 9 months, the girl I stayed awake for during fevers and nightmares, would one day sit across from me in a courtroom, my name written on legal papers as the defendant. Yet there I was, 72 years old, hands trembling slightly as I clutched my worn leather bag, watching my daughter Aisha and her husband Cameron whisper to their lawyer like strangers planning my downfall. All because they said I violated their privacy. How it all began. After my husband passed away, the house felt unbearably quiet. It was the same house where I raised Aisha, where she took her first steps, where she scribbled on the walls with crayons, where we celebrated birthdays and Eid together. When Aisha married Cameron, they struggled financially. Cameron had just started a business that wasn't doing well, and rent prices were rising every month. When they came to me with hesitant smiles and folded hands, asking if they could live with me for a short while, I didn't even hesitate. "This is your home," I told my daughter, "always." At first, things were peaceful. I cooked, they worked. I stayed mostly in my room, giving them space. I never interfered, never questioned their late nights or closed doors. I thought I was being a good mother. But slowly things changed. The walls started talking. Cameron began installing locks on the bedroom, the study, even the small storage room. "It's for privacy," he said curtly when I asked, not even meeting my eyes. Then came the rules. "Don't enter our room even if we're not home. Don't touch our documents. Don't ask questions about our finances." I swallowed every insult. I told myself times had changed. Young people needed boundaries. But then the mail started arriving. Official-looking envelopes, bank letters, court notices addressed to Cameron but coming to my house. One afternoon, a courier came looking for Cameron. He handed me a notice by mistake. I didn't open it. I simply glanced at the bold heading. "Final notice, outstanding loan." My heart sank. That evening, I gently asked Aisha, "Beta, is everything all right? I saw a letter today." She snapped, "You had no right to look at our mail. That's our private matter." I apologized immediately, but something felt wrong. The day everything broke. 2 weeks later, I came home from the market to find strangers in my living room, men in suits, measuring the walls, taking photos. "What's going on?" I asked, alarmed. Cameron barely looked at me. "We're refinancing the house." I laughed nervously. "Refinancing? This house is in my name." Cameron smirked. "Not anymore." That's when Aisha finally spoke, her voice cold and distant. "Amy, Cameron took a loan for his business. We used the house papers as collateral." The room spun. "You what?" I whispered. Cameron crossed his arms. "You don't use the house anyway, and it's family. Stop acting dramatic." I felt my knees give way. They had secretly used my house documents, documents I had kept in a locked cupboard, for loans. Loans I had never agreed to. Loans I knew nothing about. When I demanded answers, Cameron shouted, "You're invading our privacy. You went through our documents. You spy on us." Aisha stood beside him, silent. 2 days later, a legal notice arrived. They were suing me for violating their privacy, for harassment, for mental stress. Betrayal in ink and paper. Reading the lawsuit felt like being stabbed with every word. They claimed I snooped through their belongings, that I eavesdropped on conversations, that I created a hostile environment. They even requested a restraining order against me in my own house. Friends told me to settle quietly. "She's your daughter," they said. "Why ruin her life?" But what about mine? If the loan defaulted, the bank would seize my home, the home my husband and I built brick by brick. So for the first time in my life, I hired a lawyer. The courtroom. The courtroom was cold and unforgiving. Aisha avoided my eyes. Cameron looked confident, almost smug. Their lawyer painted me as an intrusive, controlling mother-in-law who couldn't accept her daughter's independence. She violated their privacy repeatedly, he said. She went through documents, questioned finances, and created emotional distress. When it was my turn, my lawyer stood up calmly. "Your Honor," he said, "we request permission to present evidence." Cameron stiffened. The judge nodded. The evidence no one expected. First came the property documents. The house was legally mine, no power of attorney, no consent signed. Then came bank records. Cameron had forged my signature to secure the loan. The courtroom buzzed. Next, my lawyer presented security camera footage, something Cameron didn't know existed. After my husband's death, my nephew had installed cameras for my safety. The footage showed Cameron entering my room while I was at the mosque, opening my cupboard, taking documents. Aisha was there too. The judge leaned forward. Cameron's face turned pale. Then came the audio recording, a voice message Cameron had accidentally sent to my old phone, thinking it was Aisha's. "If the old woman finds out, we'll say she's spying again. Courts always favor young couples." The courtroom went silent. When the judge spoke, the judge removed his glasses slowly. "This court does not tolerate misuse of privacy as a shield for fraud," he said firmly. He dismissed their lawsuit on the spot. Then he turned to Cameron. "Forgery, financial fraud, and misuse of property are serious crimes. The court recommends immediate investigation." Aisha began to cry. I felt no triumph, only heartbreak. The aftermath. The bank froze the loan. The house was safe. Cameron was charged. Aisha moved out with him, refusing to speak to me. People asked if I regretted going to court. I don't, because silence would have cost me my home and my dignity. What hurt the most? It wasn't the lawsuit. It wasn't the lies. It was realizing that love, when mixed with entitlement, can turn poisonous. I still pray for my daughter every day. But I also learned something important. Being a parent does not mean surrendering your rights. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. And standing up for yourself, even against your own blood, is not a sin. Sometimes, the judge isn't the only one delivering justice. Sometimes life does too.